What's going on, everybody? It's GameUnboxingReviews here, and welcome back to another LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens news update. Now in today's video I'm going to be showcasing a lot of brand new screenshots for the game, which give us a great look at the Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens missions. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so first off we're starting with the original trilogy screenshots, and right here of course we can see Han and Chewie on Endor, with Han in his respected Endor outfit from the movie. Now we've already seen quite a few cool variants of Han Solo in this game. We've seen of course his Endor outfit from Return of the Jedi, his older look in The Force Awakens, which is just awesome, and I can't wait to play as an older Han Solo, because we even have his Starkiller Base outfit as well, which is really nice. Now, one of the things that I can't stress enough about this game is that I would love to see characters, costumes, vehicles, and even creatures from other Star Wars media that is confirmed canon. Just so you know, it actually has to be confirmed canon for it to be in this game. So, say for example, why can't I play as Luke in his farm boy outfit on Jakku, you know? Or ride around on a Tauntaun as Darth Maul on Starkiller Base. There's just so much more they could add to the game besides The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi if they bother to dive into content from A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, The Clone Wars, Rebels, and even the prequels. Yes, I know we don't get to play through all that in missions, but they shouldn't restrict themselves to The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi just because they are the only movies that we actually get to play through. So I really hope they consider that, as they've already received, you know, just tons of requests from both myself and many others, and honestly I think they will. I think this game is going to be big, you know, it's bound to have, I think they said around 200 characters, so there's probably going to be a lot of content from not just The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi. Now then, back to this screenshot. So there isn't really much to say about this shot, but if you look to the very far right, we can see what looks to be an AT-ST. Now there's no word on if we can drive these or not just yet, but we will have to wait and see. Although, of course, you know, like I said, there's tons of vehicles that are going to be in this game and they're taking requests. So if you want to be able to ride around an AT-ST, let them know, because I'm sure they'll make it happen. But honestly, I think something like an AT-ST is bound to be drivable already, and probably even in the mission. Next up, we have another screenshot on Endor, and this time we can see just Chewie by himself with his bowcaster, although Han is probably behind him just off camera. Now, there are a few things to mention with this screenshot in particular. First off, of course, we can see the classic stormtroopers from the original trilogy, which is great, but we can also see a scout trooper as well, so that's awesome. So we already know about the First Order, they're going to be in the game, which is great, but now we have the classic stormtroopers and the scout troopers as well, which is really cool, and there's probably more that we don't know about just yet. And the other thing to mention is, of course, that Chewie looks to be using the new cover system mechanic. And for those who don't know about this, basically, this time round you'll actually be able to use your surroundings as cover during intense blaster battles. So now, judging by this image, it looks like we can only take cover on specific surfaces, such as the green Lego which you see here. But, of course, it's still early days and we have yet to see any actual gameplay of this game. So there could be more to this mechanic that we don't know about yet. But I'm really glad to see that there's a cover mechanic, because they're making it kind of sound like it's part Star Wars third-person shooter sort of thing. They said it's not, you know, it's a completely different genre, but adding something like a cover mechanic means that the blaster battles are going to be more intense. You're probably going to get shot a lot more, you probably might die a lot more, you know, it's going to be more intense and more exciting and more Star Wars, basically. So I'm really excited about these new features. So now we're moving on to some space combat screenshots, and if I had to guess, obviously this hasn't been confirmed, but I would imagine that all of these vehicles will be unlockable and of course flyable, whether that be in missions or quite possibly even a space hub. Imagine that, being able to freely fly around space, similar to what they did with LEGO Star Wars 3, because I loved how you could go from the bad guy base to the good guy base, and you could fight the bad guys or the good guys. It was just so cool, and you can also change the backdrop and everything while you're flying around space. Imagine that now though, because what they've done with LEGO Marvel and LEGO Batman, you know, you got that great third-person camera, because in LEGO Star Wars 3, when you were flying around space, it had this restricted side camera view, which I wasn't really a big fan of. It was cool to be able to fly around space, but I want to be able to freely fly around space with that third-person camera. If they could do that, you know, improve what they did with LEGO Star Wars 3, that would be amazing. Now this right here is an amazing shot, because not only do we get another great look at the Vader versus Emperor fight, but also if you basically look between the two, you can see of course Luke Skywalker sitting it out. He's having a little rest and letting his dad finish the job. But in all seriousness, yes, this is great, because now we have our first look at Luke Skywalker in his Return of the Jedi costume in-game, and he looks awesome. Like I was saying before, I mean, I would love to see tons of costumes for every character. Luke especially, because you could have his farm boy clothes, pilot outfit, Hoth gear, Dagobah clothes, Bespin outfit, and of course the one that I think everyone wants, his amazing design from The Force Awakens. Whether we will get any of that remains to be seen, but they would all be amazing additions to the game. Now this shot right here is an excellent example of the new and improved AI combat. So basically, for those who don't know, what will happen now is that while you're actually fighting it out with the First Order, shooting your blaster, getting behind cover, all that good stuff, enemy fighters will be using Lego bricks to build support for their fellow stormtroopers. So they could be, for example, calling in air support, reinforcements, or even heavy artillery. I mean, there's just tons of stuff going on the battlefield in this game, and it sounds amazing. Really, I think this is a great addition to the game because you're playing as Han Solo, you're behind cover, you're shooting the stormtroopers, they call in air support, more come in, heavy artillery comes in. It sounds like an absolute blast. Combat sounds amazing in this game, and I can't wait to finally get into it and just start shooting the blaster and taking on the First Order. This is of course a shot from the scene in the movie where Finn and Poe try to escape by stealing a TIE fighter, and of course if you look carefully you can actually see Poe in the TIE fighter. So now we're going to be moving on to some screenshots from Jakku. So first up here, of course, you can see Rey sliding down a hill with pieces of the Star Destroyer lying absolutely everywhere. The Star Destroyer, of course, being from the Battle of Jakku. Now then, this obviously looked great in the movie, but it still amazes me to this day how TT Games can take massive set pieces from movies like The Force Awakens and recreate them so perfectly. I mean, that right there, that is talent. Next up, we can see Rey performing what looks to be a special move using her staff. However, we currently don't have any details whatsoever on the melee combat in this game, as the main focus in the news at least has been blaster combat. But fear not, of course, you will be able to use a lightsaber and Rey's staff and all that good stuff. You know, you're totally going to be able to do that. It's just there's going to be a lot of blaster combat as there was in the actual movie. You know, there was a lot of crazy battles going on, so it makes sense to have a big influence on the blaster combat in this game. However, one cool thing that I do now know of is that in an interview with Game Informer, TT Fusion confirmed that you're now going to be able to freely move an object using the Force. So basically, if you remember from, say, for example, Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, when you use the Force to pick something up, it would basically put that object where you wanted it to go. Well, now you can move it up, down, left, right, completely freely move it and put it where you want. That is really cool. Really, really nice addition to the game. Next up, we have a really cool screenshot of Rey and Bb-8. Now, Bb-8 looks to be scanning the area here, which is probably one of the new droid abilities in the game, and could possibly work in a similar way to Black Widow's tech from LEGO Marvel's Avengers. And finally, the last screenshot of Jakku is, of course, another shot of Rey and Bb-8 in the destroyed Star Destroyer. Now, obviously, all of these screenshots on Jakku are most definitely connected, which means that this is the actual mission with Rey and Bb-8, and personally, I think it looks great. I also really love how they actually added her mask from that scene of the movie too. I know to some that might be a tiny thing, but to me, it just adds that much more respect to the source material, you know. It really puts you in that scene from the movie. It's not just you're playing as Rey and you're going through the Star Destroyer, you're actually wearing the mask, Bb-8's with you, and you're actually doing what Rey was doing from the film. And of course, it most likely has original audio as well, you know. Archive audio will most likely be used for some actors and actresses, but we do of course know that John Boyega is back as Finn, and if I had to guess, I would say Daisy Ridley is back as Rey as well. So fingers crossed on that, because she was amazing, and it would make it that much more exciting if she's actually coming back for this game. And last but most certainly not least, the final 3 screenshots of today's video are of course from Starkiller Base. So first up, we have a really nice shot of this level, and graphically I personally think that it looks amazing. Now next we can see Han, Finn and Chewie hanging onto a ledge. One of the things I love about this is that we can actually see that the characters have their weapons holstered. So Finn actually has his lightsaber by his side, Han has his blaster, and what is that on Han's back? Personally, I think it's binoculars, but I don't believe he was actually using binoculars in the scene from the movie, so it could just be something else. Or the binoculars will actually be a new game mechanic that they haven't talked about yet. We will just have to wait and see. And finally, we get a really nice look at Han, Finn, and Chewie inside the interior of Starkiller Base. Now, obviously, all of these screenshots that I've showed in this video have been brilliant, but both Jakku and Starkiller Base, they're actually from the actual missions, as I've said, but we're going to be able to revisit these locations in the form of hub worlds. So I really hope they're big, wide open areas that we're going to have a lot of fun in. You know, I said in my previous video that Jakku is going to be rife with creatures, meaning there's going to be lots of NPCs, lots of creatures walking around, all that good stuff. You'll be able to jump on a creature and ride around it if you so wish, all that kind of stuff. So I really hope that's the same for Starkiller Base. You know, you go inside Starkiller Base and there's actual stormtroopers walking around. You know, how cool would that be? There's actual stormtroopers, and then, you know, if you attack one, maybe it'll attack back, and then maybe they'll call in reinforcements and all that kind of stuff. You know, there's tons of really cool things that they could do with the AI in the hub world. So fingers crossed they, you know, at least consider stuff like that, because obviously most of our time will be spent in the hub worlds, not just the missions. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for this video. I mean, these screenshots are amazing. They really are. The great thing about them all is that if you compare them to, say, a screenshot from LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, there's a massive change. You know, these games have improved and evolved so much over the years. You hear a lot from people that these games haven't changed, that they're the same. They've always been the same, and I will always say they haven't, because they always add something new. Whether it be super jumps, random crimes, super speed, wall running, or some cover system, or, you know, impressive AI that actually call in reinforcements, or these big open hub worlds, or being able to ride creatures, all this kind of stuff. You know, this wasn't in the previous LEGO Star Wars games. You know, none of this stuff was. So these games will continue to evolve and continue to get better, and I will keep saying these things because these games are amazing, and I'm super excited about this one in particular. Alright guys, so I want to thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for lots more videos real soon, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.